Yeah.
And then we're
that's true.
scared to ask, because sometimes we don't even think that we have to ask.
Yes.
That's very true. I'm gonna say my little one too. I feel like my situation was like different. Like for me, I felt like my dad just gave me whatever I wanted. I feel like I was spoiled. And then I would meet guys, and it's just like, oh, you're not doing this? Bye. You're not doing this? Bye. And it just
That's
made
who I
me
wanted to be.
Listen, girl, but it's flip side to that. That's why they say you always don't look at nobody else's story, because
Right.
the inside is
Right.
crazy. So it turned me into like a little brat. And then watching my mom have an attitude, then I had attitude. My dad, I'm spoiled, so my dad like, listen, just get away, not correcting the behavior.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because I don't know, whatever. I don't know how his parenting was. Me and my dad wasn't like, lovey-dovey. I was like, my dad is like goofy. Like, I'm goofy. I'm so silly. And I'll get it from my dad. Like, my dad is more of a like, he show you love, he gonna put you in the headlock or something like that. And I know, booty, kissy. Like, I remember I had to got so upset with my dad one day because we was hanging up. And he did it like 3 times in a row. I'm like, let me see if we do it again. I'm like, all right, dad, bye, I love you. And he like, all right, yep, bye. And I had to call him back and I say, you know what? I honestly, I'm like, well, I said I love you. Why you say, oh, I love you? I said, even if I did, it's nice for you to say it. And from that day on, he always be like, you say, because I feel like I'm sensitive, like I'm a girl.
Yeah.
So he don't think about that. So it's just like something as simple as that.
Yes. Means so much.
And
yes,
then
it does.
Yes, and then it carry but all that just carry on to your relationships and stuff. And it's just like you want to feel these things, you want to hear these things, because it's just stuff, was either absent or overly, present. Like my dad would like he just, from me when I was a baby. I was a love child, so it was very much
same.
So
you hear.
Yeah, so it was always just, I don't know, I feel like I was like a daddy's girl, but I feel like it was like no balance of being like, all right, well, this is the attitude, this and that. I should have had some type of cutoff or something, because like I said, I carried on to my relationships, and then it wasn't like healthy, I have little attitudes and bratty and stuff like that, and it's just
my way or the highway.
My way or highway, and it's like, well, you're not right. You can't say my
right. You can't be corrected.
Exactly. I couldn't be corrected because it's just that's not what I knew. That's not whatever. So it's just, I don't know. That's just how it just goes. Okay. Like you can parents and be thinking you're doing the best, but just because you messed up don't necessarily mean you failed your child. It just mean you may have been too focused on your own trauma and avoiding what you went through, and you done created something else. But it's just like it's always going to be something. I feel like this mommies and boys just love on each other, and then daddies just love on the girls, because I feel like we need that like opposite, because eventually we all like grow into like man and woman.
Exactly.
So it starts at childhood, right, Gary? So it's just childhood. Like we need that. I feel like opposite sex to like love on us, like it starts with our dads, and then brothers, uncles, or whatever. But I feel like it that's why childhood, all ties in.
Well, it does, and I mean and I think. My responsibility as a man is to make sure, and I tried to do this when my daughter was little. I wanted her to know what I thought a man should be. Now, was I perfect? No. Was I perfect? No, nobody's ever perfect, But what I didn't want her to do was to grow up thinking that you got to have this or you got to accept this. So, brothers, I'm sorry here. Sometimes we do things and we think that we done something and we really haven't done anything. Right. So I take you to Applebee's.
Right.
I take you to Applebee's and I let you get the
whatever you want.
And so now I feel you beholden to me, and I'm this really big dude because I took you to Applebee's. I used to take my daughter out on a date. We used to call it daddy-daughter day. That's what we do. And we would do that. And the thing was, I would take her to certain places and I, teach her to order off the menu, et cetera. The point was I wanted her to understand just because a dude does this for you doesn't necessarily mean, he's Prince Charming.
Right.
Sometimes people do things because they just do things,
want something in return. You have to teach your kids.
Right.
You have to talk to your kids and teach them. That's amazing.
So that's where the fathers have to be a part of the daughters' lives, but then the father's got to be a part of the son's lives, because the father has to be able to teach the same thing to the son Like, these are the mistakes I've made.
Yes.
Don't
yes.
make them.
Don't make them. You
Don't make
need
these
both.
mistakes.
You need
know,
both.
and like mothers got to do the same thing for their
Yes,
daughters.
yes.
Mothers have to
Very
be in the
true.
lives of their daughters and be
Very
like,
true.
listen,
Balance.
Very
don't
true.
do this, don't do this, or do this.
Yes.
And
yes.
I think
yes.
that's where we as parents go off. So I think what I find a lot in my practice are parents who feel that they failed their adult children. And what I try to say is that, well, I don't look at it as failure, look at it as a lesson, because now you can learn. So as long as you got life inside of you, you have a chance to maybe fix the situation. Some things you might not be able to fix.
Right.
And then there might be some things you might be able to fix.
Yes.
But you got to work at it, and you got to
Yes.
want to work at it. I have a brother
Yes.
who has a son. His son is 24, 25, I believe, right about now. My nephew. For whatever reasons, my brother was not in his life, as he was coming up. And I know that an irritating point for my brother is that my nephew doesn't call him dad.
But
But I try to, you haven't been there, and he has a man in his life who has been that dad. He's a good dude. I can't hate on that brother because he took care of my nephew. Okay. Point I'm making is, okay, now as a man, you can either stay there, be upset with your son because he doesn't call you, or you can help him navigate his feelings,
Right.
his emotions, so that he can get to a place where maybe he might call you dad.
Yes.
And if he doesn't, at least a place where he can respect you.
Yes.
That's
Or
what
maybe his kids is calling you Pop.
Exactly.
So it's safe to say keep trying, right?
You got to keep
Yes.
trying.
Always keep trying.
You
Never
can't
give
give
up.
You can never
Yeah.
give up. You
Nobody
can
get
never
in the way
stop.
of you when you're worse.
You can never stop. You can never ever just say, well, it won't get any better than this.
Right.
I can't fix this. So you can never give up.
You see?
Oh.
Pass that down to Taddy.
Here you go. It's for you. See,
Probably like, these girls
no.
talking all this healing, keep pouring that cup. Listen,
Listen,
it doesn't
this-
last that long.
That's okay. I love it though. I love it. Just your hospitality is on point. I don't want to. I know you guys got some questions for
roll
me.
into
Okay.
it. Yeah, okay.
All right. What you got? What you got?
Okay. So we on part.
Okay. We are. We are part two.
Okay.
Do you want to lead with the first question? You want me to do it?
We can go. I'll go into it. It's pretty much we kind of piggybacked on it a little bit, but we just want to go into more details. We wanted to talk about, how basically parents only parent to the extent of how they've been parented or what they, what they know, as you already said. So we basically kind of really already touched on that. So we can go into the next one, honestly, because we kind of already talked about it.
Okay.
We've been running into stuff and,
No.
Okay. So some moms or parents, we'll just say parents. Some parents have, okay, before I even get into the question.
It's okay to say moms. I'm fine with that.
Okay.
Okay. It's okay.
But before I even get into the question, the word narcissist has been thrown around.
Oh,
And
yes.
gaslighting
Okay.
has
And
been thrown
gaslighting,
around.
yes.
Mhm.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
like it's the Bible. I
Yes.
don't know. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Very frequently. And sometimes often people use it wrong. Like
Yes.
there's selfish men out here.
Yes,
And then
it
there's
is.
actual narcissists.
Yes.
And I feel like people just use it just to use it. So can you just kind of
Everybody's a
clarify
narcissist.
before we get into the question? Can we just
Okay.
clarify what a
Everybody's a
narcissist and a gaslighter is?
A narcissist is primarily a person that makes you. It's kind of the same thing with gaslighting. They will make you feel as though you're the problem.
Right.
They're not dealing with their own issues. They're not dealing with their parts or responsibility in whatever the situation is currently.
Yeah.
But it's like, you're the one that's the problem. But the other piece of narcissism that's often forgotten is that a narcissist it's all about them. Even when they're not trying to make you feel guilty, it's all about them. So if we take it out of the parent scenario, it's on a job. If you're on a job and a person is always talking about what they've done, they've done this, I did this, etc. Kind of like our political races that we have now. We have one
Candidate.
one candidate, I'm not going to say his name. We got
Absolutely.
one candidate who he's the smartest of everything. I've done this
the best,
and this
smartest,
didn't get
richest.
this didn't get taken care of. I took care of it, and I took care of this, and I did that, and so narcissism.
What about the country?
It's yeah, I'm about to go about that. Narcissism is all about what I've done. I did this.
Right.
I made you feel better.
Ooh.
Okay. You know,
Right.
I helped you to be better.
Right.
You know, I brought this into your life.
Yeah.
Examples of how narcissism kind of plays out in relationships. The gaslighting is basically when everything is your fault. In other words, you know, our child is acting this way because of you. You know, he doesn't talk to me. He doesn't come to me when I come in the room because you spoke to him against me, or you won't let me see him. He won't. He doesn't get to see me. I don't have no relationship because you won't let me have a relationship with him. Now, with that being said, even if that's true in some cases, the reality is, why doesn't she want you to have a relationship?
Exactly.
Are you a person that's unsafe, unhealthy?
What's the cause and effect?
What's the cause and effect? So I'm saying that even if that is the case, there's a reason why that's the case.
Right.
But in the gaslighting piece of it, it's oftentimes not the case.
Right.
And oftentimes with gaslighting, the person will say, well, you're keeping my child from me, but you're really not. You know, the reality, are you really making the time to spend with this child, you know, that we created, you know? And that's that. I hope that helps explain, but that's the way I see it.
Very clear and concise. We definitely understand. I know we got some smart listeners. I know they get it. So then that leads into the question is, as a parent that is parenting with a narcissist or a gaslighter, is like, when is it okay, or how do you be able to move away from that situation? Because it can be damaging even to the parent to have to deal with that. Then into the child. Like, how do you be able to like handle it? Because some people are married to narcissists and gaslighters, and it's like you want to leave, but then you're gaslit, so you feel like, okay, well, maybe it is my fault.
Or how do you even know that, okay, he is a narcissist,
right?
Like, or or how
he
do you know
gaslighting
he is gaslighting me? Like, how do you? Because I feel like once you're in there deep, when you know these, I feel like a lot of people just at the signs, you be in too deep before they really show their true colors. Nobody show up a narcissist or a gaslighter. They wait and they suck you in and they get you to love them and then they throw them darts at you and you suck.
Listen, the reality is that I'm going to answer your question, but the reality is that, you know, I can only speak from a male's perspective.
Yeah, that's the perspective we love.
Thank you. Thank you very much. A lot of times we see y'all. We want to give you our good side. What we hope is our good side.
Right.
You know, the other stuff, the fact that we don't pay any bills, the fact that we don't do this, we don't do that.
In the basement.
Living in the basement, with my mama's basement, okay.
You talk to me nasty.
Yeah, you know, those things I'm trying to keep you from seeing. I don't want you to see that. You know, sometimes we do it consciously. Sometimes we do it subconsciously. Sometimes we don't realize that this is just the way we react when I'm with a woman. You know, this is just the part that I know that. But what happens is that other side comes out eventually.
Yes.
So I think the one thing I would say in terms of relationships is you got to give yourself time with people.
Yeah.
And I think that, you know, you gotta give yourself time to know a person. I think also, let's be honest. There's a lot of red thing that's there, and
ignore.
And there's a lot of yellow tape around the places. Caution tape around there too. I mean, we have to be able to give yourself time to see a person. Now, if you're in a relationship, if you're in a relationship, a lot of times it's harder. What I'm going to say is that you know, people say, well, why do they stay there? You know, a lot of times it ain't as easy to leave. Yeah. Let's just be honest. Sometimes it's not easy. If financially there's a kind of binding, you can't always just up and leave. Yeah. So I think what I would say though is in situations like that, when you recognize the person that you're dealing with, I would say, please start to plan your own level of independence.
Yes.
Whatever that looks like.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not telling the person to leave. I'm not telling the person to stay. If you know that person is not healthy for you and your child, then you got to look at it long term and say to yourself, well, this person may not, they might change, and then they may not change. If they don't change, what do I need to do to change about change about me, so that I can be able to be in a place where my whole whatever does not depend upon what that person do or how that person moves.
Yeah.
And so this is for people listening. I'm not blaming anybody. Absolutely. I'm not saying that your situation is because that's not what this is about. What it is that recognizing when you come to that realization, and a lot of times people come to a realization that this is not working. What's going to be the best thing for me to do to move forward?
Yeah.
So sometimes that takes time. How do you do it? Well, a lot depend upon you as a person. A lot of times, you know, the resources that you have, the supports that you have.
Support is a big thing.
Support. Some people are in situations where there's not a lot of support.
Yes,
you know, they don't have a lot of family support.
Or stay with your family. It's okay. Put some ice on that eye.
Yeah,
stay.
you know, some people.
The ice.
I like that. You know, yeah. I mean, and that's true. Some people will tell folk to stay in a relationship because they stayed in a relationship.
That's your family.
They stayed in that's your family and and you want your child to have such and such.
Yeah.
Once again, if the situation you're in right now is not a long-term pleasant situation, you do not have to stay in that situation, but you got to develop a plan B.
Yes. Especially if you're hurting. Oh my
Definitely got to develop a plan B.
You have to develop a plan B. You know, you should not, you should not just jump out of a situation, right? But you shouldn't just stay in a situation
unless somebody beating your ass. Somebody putting their hands on you, get out of there immediately.
Now that's a whole other story. That's a whole other story. If somebody
get out safe though.
Get out safe, but get out.
Get out.
Get out. Don't stay and keep.
Girls going to hell.
That came out wrong now.
Don't go and stay because of the kids, because someone thinks that you need to stay.
Do that.
You know, because my concern, I think, is like I remember as a young man, I used to say to myself, "Oh man, listen, I was never a person who I wasn't going to hit a woman." But I said to myself, "But you know what though? But the only way I'm going to hit a woman if she pinned me in that corner right there, and the only way I can just fight." But then I thought about it. Why am I allowing myself to get pinned in that corner?
Right. Here we go.
Don't do that.
I'm going to get out before I get to the corner.
So my responsibilities before I hit you is I need to get out of this relationship. Because there is no justification for me laying hands on you.
Right.
There's never any justification for that.
Right.
But I think for people who are in that situation, you have to be able to look and say to yourself, okay, how do I get out of this?
Yeah. And there's no reason for the woman's. You know, you're a little feisty, but
you don't be putting your hands on these men.
Don't.
These men are big,
stronger than you.
No, true. You probably shouldn't. But also, the reality is that a lot of men are getting beat up. I'm just being honest. There are some brothers who should not raise their hand to their woman. Yeah, because their woman can
beat their.
Bruh, don't do it. So for the men,
I never thought about that. Don't do it.
So for the brothers who are in that situation, it's the same. It's the same plan.
Yes,
find a way to get out. Do a plan B.
Yeah.
You know, because this is anyone that's in an abusive relationship.
Yeah. All seriousness.
In all seriousness, needs to get out.
All forms of abuse, right?
Yeah. Yes. And really all forms, because people think about physical abuse. They don't think about emotional abuse, which is where the gaslighting and stuff comes in at. The narcissism stuff. People don't think about the psychological abuse. You know, I'm making you feel like you're just nuts or whatever, that you're nothing. You know, that I'm taking your value. You have no value, or your value is all in me. You know,
crazy.
if you're in that situation, you should leave.
Yes.
You know? If you're in a situation where someone's, and back to the physical piece, where someone is literally hitting on you,
right,
you should leave
immediately.
I would say immediately.
Yes.
You know,
because you never know how bad it's going to get. You look at the news, people are killing people.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. It can go real love.
Imagine over love.
And because some people could tell you to stay, or you could say to yourself that you should stay, but you don't know if you're going to survive the next time.
You don't know if you're going to survive. And then if you have a child, you don't know if they're going to get mad at your child and start hitting your child. Like,
and we see that happening a lot of times. So
now he's so frustrated that he want to kill everybody. He to kill you, the baby, and himself.
It's okay.
Get out immediately.
It's okay to start over. It's always okay to start over. Where you start at, where change at, is more than likely growth, and that's the direction you should go if it gets that hard.
Yes.
For people living in the Philadelphia area, the tri-state area, and I'm sure that there's supports. You know, that's why I'm saying if you have a plan B, develop your plan B. The reality is, sometimes we don't have a chance to do a plan B.
Yeah.
And you might just have to leave with nothing then.
Sometimes
it's got to be you and your child. You can't think of in your birth certificate, social thing of important stuff, and just gotta go with nothing.
You just gotta go.
Sometimes, unfortunately,
and don't be shamed. Don't be shamed. Like if you have to go to a shelter just because you gotta go, don't be shamed. Like, I'm too good for that.
Yeah.
Not when you get your head beaten.
I feel like
girl, get out of there.
Yeah.
Never have shame. We do what's best for you. If nobody understands, then guess what?
Yeah. Please don't be afraid. Don't be ashamed.
Don't be ashamed.
Do what you need to do. Do what you need to do for your children.
Yes. First and foremost.
Always first.
And foremost.
Whatever that looks like, you got to do it.
Yes, you have to. You have to. That's like the most important thing, Teddy, that we cannot stress. Like that's why I say it's the best to get help. And just if you can stop, the trauma or the abuse or just the abstinence or any, it could be literally, it don't have to be something so dramatic. If you can just, I don't.
Anything
tap me on the shoulder. Anything that may not be healthy in any type of way, just go on ahead and
get out of there.
Get out of there. It's okay. And
no shame.
It's support groups for almost every situation. You are not the only
if
one.
You need to call me, hit me up in any kind of way, and if I can be assistance in any kind of way, if I can pick you up and drive you to wherever you need to go, I'm doing it. Okay, I'm doing it. It's no shame. There's no judgment.
Building a support network is so key.
Yes.
You got to know who you can talk to in times like these.
Yes.
And I'm going to say you can't talk to everybody.
No.
Because everybody can't help you. Everyone don't want to help you.
Yes.
Some people like you where you are.
Yes. Okay? Very true.
Very true. You got to know the difference.
You do. Ooh, that was a...
That was a tough one, but that was good.
Shall we all take a moment and shall we just breathe a little bit here? Breathe a little bit. Okay. All right. We got this.
That was really good.
Hey, y'all, like they said, we didn't read the fine print.
This is all things that we didn't read the fine print and find it out now. It's hard.
Okay.
All right.
Yes. All right. So with some tips for parents that just can't get along, can't communicate, but they still have to with younger children. I can't just be like, I get a phone to little they can't even talk yet. So we have to get along. We have to find this balance. It's never okay to just be like, you know what? I see him in a few years. It's never okay to be like, I'm not talking to you. It's never okay to step away. You have to find some type of balance or some type of tips or something. So it's just like, okay, we have to be able to talk. This is something that we have to do because 9 times out of 10, I feel like a lot of problems are like rooted through communication. Like you're not communication, you're refusing to communicate, or you're gaslighting, or whatever thing it is, or you may not just like we were talking about vulnerability. You might not just what you want to say. You may feel like I may not take it, or vice versa. But it's like you have to just get it out because it's bigger than your feelings and your emotions. Because the child is evolved.
It's not about you.
It's not about you. So with some tips that you can give us
for communication.
Parents.
I mean, the first thing I would say to any mom is understand that there's nothing wrong with you. Just to start with that. Because a lot of times people
you're doing it, girl.
Exactly. A lot of times single moms you're out there by yourself, or you don't have the dad there for whatever reason. The reality is that that's a tough job within itself. Like I said, when I think about my mom and what that was like and what she had to do, I can't even grasp. I can't even fathom. When she had 4 of us, because it was 4 of us that lived together. You know, my dad had other kids. That's another story. But it was 4 of us that lived together, and we never went without. You know, we never not had. Right. Now we might not have had what we wanted to have, but we never went without. And so the first thing I would say is understand who you're fighting. Understand the person that you're dealing with. You know, do your best to learn how to communicate with that person, but also recognize that you might not be able to communicate with that person well. I think that's the other piece to understand. Okay. So when you know who you're communicating with, then you start to recognize, okay, well, me fussing and that's not going to do a lot. So now I got to change my whole vocal approach to how I deal with this person. Now, that doesn't mean that you got to be subservient or nothing like that. I'm just saying, but you got to find a different way to approach that person to get that person to understand what you're trying to say. Then I think the other piece, honestly, some guys ain't going to get it.
Right.
So then you got to be able to speak life to yourself, speak life to your kids, you know, and let your children see what, because the thing about kids is that kids are going to get it.
Right.
You know, kids are going to understand what, you know, dad didn't do. Eventually.
Right.
You know, you could sit and you could spend your time fighting this and fighting that. Or you can let your kids find out. The other thing I'm going to say is that also, you know, if you have people who won't do, then sometimes you got to do other resources that take, you know, because you still got to take care of that child,
right?
Whether or not the other person wants to be involved with you or not, you're still responsible, and there's still a responsibility on that person, on the other person's part, to do what they're supposed to do.
Yeah,
and sometimes, brothers, I'm sorry, but if you end up in court, you end up in court because you didn't do what you were supposed to do in the first place. You know, the art of this thing, I'm going to say, is that you do not have to be together to raise a child.
Yes. Co-parenting should be amazing. It should be a breeze because we're not together. You know me.
I don't want you. You don't want me.
Right.
Whatever. But we got a kid.
You got whatever a kid. It is. Learning how to adjust to each other's relationship for the sake of the child. We don't have to be together. We don't have to be together, but we need to learn how to take care of this little one or those little ones, and make sure that they become the priority. You know, so a lot of times couples, it's stuck on them. What you didn't do or what you did do to me, and we have to be able to move past that. But understandably so, that's not easy to do.
Going into you know, it's not always easy to get past certain things.
It's not.
It's a lot of men, women too, who may have had dealt with, you know, not dealt with a lot of their childhood traumas and things or whatever, and it's showing back up, and you're basically just, that's what you're showing, that's what you're presenting to the child. So for some, what can I say? We were talking about this last night. Like, far as like, you know, just you maybe, I don't want to. I'm gonna just say you dealt with a mom that was on drugs or was, you know, not there, or I don't even know, was they hooking back in the 80s? I don't know. Or
they've been doing that probably since the beginning of mankind. You know,
and it's just like you have not yet learned to heal from that, and it's like you're so far gone from that, and it just, and that is, you know, opposite we were saying earlier, like that affect your relationship. But far as like
you being upset at that experience that you had from that, and then you turn around and do the same thing, the very thing that you're upset at.
Exactly. You do the exact same. You're doing the same thing. It's just like you upset, but you're doing it.
But I think that's the part where our own levels of responsibility come into place. I mean, it's hard, but we have to be able to see the bigger picture.
Yes.
The reality is that, once again, as we've been saying throughout this whole thing, our past influences our present, and what we do in our present will influence our future. The reality is that there are some things that we've been really, really hurt by.
Yeah.
That we just, it's hard. But then you also got to look at it this way. It's hard, but I ain't got no other choice. I mean, the solution is not always easy.
Right.
The solution is not always one of those things where you're like, hey, I got this. Or, it's just not. I mean, sometimes you just have to, you got to just find a way. And finding a way is not easy. But if we look at our past and we see what didn't work, or if we see how that might have happened early in our lives and how then it gives us a kind of a guidepost to not go that route. In other words, we've been that route before, or we've seen other people go that route. And as hard as it is, we know that going that route doesn't help. It doesn't benefit us. So, I mean, so there's no real easy answer to that question.
Yeah.
It's just, I think, individually, what do we want? What do we not want? What do we
not want?
What do we not want? And that's more important than what we want sometimes, because the thing that we don't want can sometimes define us. It really can.
So, but do you think it's important to like work on that relationship with your parent so you can, get better with being your own parent? Do you think that's a key factor, or you think that's something like, no, you just need to go therapy on your own?
No, I mean, I think that working on with the relationship with your parents, I think could be important. Your parents have to want to work with you on it.
But what if it's opposite? What if you don't want to work, but your parents do want to work?
Because you still holding on to that hurt.
Well, if you still hold, so then you're gonna have to ask yourself why you. So you got to ask yourself why you're holding on to it, and is that holding on to it helping you? Okay,
is the holding on to it helping you, brother?
No.
If the holding on to it is not helping you, then it's reasonable to be said that you got to let it go.
Let it go.
Let that hurt go. There's some steps of letting it go, because I feel like they just don't know, and I feel like sometimes when it comes to that, the parent might have to just be the one who have to like just have you still got a parent. I feel like you still got a parent. You might have a 40-year-old man.
It's just like you can still try to parent, but if the person is not open to receiving that, then it just falls on different.
So some of the tips, once again,
we just out here freestyling it. We can't just be like, baby, we gotta sit down and talk.
Letting go really is just that. Letting it go.
So
don't let it take up space in your brain and your thought process and your energy.
Done for people that's
it is, but you have to take responsibility of now who you are. If that's hurting you, then it's like
kind of comes back to what we're talking about, responsibility. So the reality is that that person may not change.
Yes,
that person may never change.
Wow.
So you on the other hand, on that.
You on the other hand may have to change. You might have, like for example, for the single mom that's dealing with a father who's not there and not being involved, or he's half the time there or quarter of the time there. That's a very painful situation. But you stay in there,
right?
So you got to be able to talk to someone that can help you process what they're not doing, because they're not talking to anybody. Okay,
right.
They don't even think they need to talk to anybody, but you know that you need to talk. So the conversations like we're having right now, like we're telling anybody out there, if you're in that situation, find a therapist.
Yeah.
Talk to them.
Yeah. And that's what I say the most. I feel like at this point, there's nothing nobody can do but a professional, because the alcohol is not doing it. The drugs is not doing it. Your piece that you're sucking up of a woman or a man is not doing it. The job is not doing it. The ooh-wee's not doing it.
It's one of those.
And the club is not a place to go.
One of the things that I've learned over the years is that like when a lot of times people do drugs and alcohol, they start out, it gives them like kind of like a place to escape.
Yes, escapism.
But after a while, you don't feel like you've escaped. After
you're drunk and crying.
Yeah, they go into the thing you were saying earlier about it's lingering.
And it's lingering. So the thing is that you got to be able to be honest with yourself, as you said. You got to be able to recognize that it's okay not to be okay. But in that, who can help me get to where I need to get to.
Yeah.
It could be, and the therapist can be a part of that support system.
Right.
It can be once again, a friend that you can trust, a friend that's going to talk to you like real stuff. Like we don't need
sugarcoating.
We don't need the yes men and yes women.
Right.
We don't need those people that, yeah, go ahead, girl. Yeah, you got this, girl. You got this. Oh, yeah. No, girl, you don't have that.
You don't have that.
You don't have that. You need some help. You need to go talk to such and such and such and whatever. And those are the people that we need in our lives. So I hope that I've kind of answered the question.
Yes, you did. So all our cousins.
Thank you, guys.
We are so happy that you came.
I love this episode. This is already one of my favorites.
Thank you, guys.
I can't wait till Wednesday to watch it.
Oh, I can't wait to see it either. Thank you guys for having me on the show.
Thank you, Mr. Gary. This is so well needed.
So this is coming to an end. So we're going to do our little traditional
close out,
and we do
blessing in disguise,
and we're going to include you too. So
blessing in disguise.
Go first. You go first. Honey?
Blessing in disguise for me right now is going back to God. So a lot of the experiences that I have been experiencing, I just realized that like I don't think I'm capable of handling it on my own. And in that God, going back to God and finding God and being able to build that relationship with God has made me feel like I am able to handle it. Also, I'm always open to therapy. I'm like a therapy hype man. You know what I mean? Like I'm definitely like one of the ones that like, you know, if something's not right and you can't get past it and it's lingering in your mind over and over again, and go get therapy, because I feel like therapists can also offer tools to help you get past certain stuff. Like you can have conversations with your friends and they can tell you different stuff and you just vent and make you feel better. But then like to counter that, you need tools to actually help you move on from the situation.
Whether it's journaling or
whatever it is, you know,
some tools and stuff.
Some therapists give homework, like they give certain questions and prompts that you have to answer and you go back and y'all discuss that, whatever it is.
They make you think on a level that your friends won't, because your friends are not qualified, because they did not go to school for it. They don't have experience and they have not seen any other patients.
Boom.
That part right there. that part right there. Yeah.
So that's the best in disguise for me.
That was amazing.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Okay, I would say my blessing in disguise is I've been knocked down, I've been tired, but in all, I have built strength.
Yes,
I didn't know I was so strong. I always knew I was strong, but I'm like, she's so strong. Like, and then when I get up in the morning, I'm good. I'm happy. You know what I'm saying? I'm happy. I get strong. Everything like every crash out I have. Every time I talk about it, professional, or you know, whatever way I go, or God, I pray, or I go, therapy. I come back and I get stronger. You know, in my every little downfall, I deal with it. You know, in the right way. I'm like this is a testimony for the Lord, testimony for therapy. I come back stronger. Yeah, and you never really know how strong you are till that's your only option.
Period.
So if it's leaving, do it. If it's working out, y'all see me, it's hard. I know my mommies, we fall off, we gain weight, we do that, we might eat, the relationship don't work, let's be real, we get depressed and all that. You know, I have a lot of friends, we go through all things. We might not feel as pretty one day, but guess what? Get up, do it. Yes. You have to just do it.
Keep
just like
going.
We telling them we can hold them accountable, just be a dad, just do that. In the midst of them doing it or not doing that, put that focus and that love into yourself.
Yes.
And everything will fall apart and you will find out how strong you are as a woman. Yes. God created us how we're supposed to be. Walk in that light.
Yes.
Not stay in the dark.
Yes.
We love you.
Don't stay in the dark, baby.
On point. I can't add nothing to that. That is awesome.
No, we gotta do blessing in disguise.
Oh, me? I do a blessing?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
First guest.
Oh man, my blessing in disguise would be realizing that there are spaces for me to fit in because I've spent a lifetime sometimes not feeling that I was supposed to be in this space, or not feeling like I have the right to be in this space, or not feeling deserving to be in this space, or being told by other people you don't deserve to be here, and realizing that, you know, for such a time as this, I'm here.
Purpose.
You know, and there's a purpose for my life, and the blessing in disguise for me is that I'm realizing my purpose. I'm realizing that I'm here to be able to help people. And that people in my life to help me as well. So I'm grateful and thankful for every opportunity that I get a chance to do that.
We are grateful that you came. That our viewers have cheers. Yes, cheers. Oh, cheers to another episode. Listen, my glass is always empty when we cheer.
Okay. There we go.
All right, we didn't read the fine print.
We didn't read the fine print. Bye, y'all.
I definitely didn't read it. Okay.